Hey everyone, I'm Sunita, the founder of afineparent.com and your host here at the Positive Parenting Conference. This is the Hardwiring Happiness Masterclass, and our expert guide today is Dr. Rick Hanson. Welcome, Dr. Hanson.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, and please call me Rick.
Oh, I'll call you Dr. Rick. All right, so Dr. Rick is a psychologist, a senior fellow of the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley, and a New York Times best-selling author of several books. He has been an invited speaker at NASA, Oxford, Stanford, Harvard, and many other major universities, and has taught meditation in several centers around the world. So our inspiration for this masterclass is his bestseller book, Hardwiring Happiness, The New Brain Science of Contentment, Calm, and Confidence. I'm so honored that you could join us, Dr. Hanson. Ready to get started?
Oh, definitely. And I want to say as well that I'm a parent. My wife and I have two adult children. They are now 32 and 29, but we've been doing that. And I have a lot of background in developmental psychology, early childhood, transition to parenthood. My very first book was about the long-term health and welfare of mothers and how to support that in body, mind, and relationships. And also, I've worked in many, many schools. I've spent many, many hours observing children, talking with parents, as well as doing therapy with children, teens, and young adults. So this is material that I really care a lot about.
Right, and that's all the more reason why I'm so happy that you could join us. I know scheduling has been difficult. I know you're very busy. Your new book is coming out, so I really appreciate that you're doing this for us.
Oh yeah, I think we're all busy, especially parents. You know, and this is such a vital topic. I think from time to time that if we wanted to change the course of human history, think about the last 5,000 years of recorded history and our best guess of what preceded that. If we made the number one public policy priority the welfare of mothers, if we just said, you know, mothers, it's gonna be number one. There's gonna be number two and number three, but mothers are number one. If we did that for a generation, it would utterly change the course of human history.
Right, right. So, all right. So one of the things is the brain. You talk about that a lot, and it's something I'm absolutely fascinated by.
Okay.
I particularly like the way you put it. You say that it's a 3-pound blob of tofu-like substance that sits in here, but is responsible for our ability to feel angry or at ease, to feel frustrated or fulfilled, to feel lonely or loved, and this whole range of emotions. So why don't we start by talking about the fascinating human brain?
Oh, sure, including the brain of our own children. So where I think it's helpful to just start is to relate our experiences, simple experiences. We are hearing each other, we are seeing each other, we are having experiences of some kind, right? As best we can tell, the squirrels outside my window playing in the trees, they're having experiences too. They are hearing, they are seeing, they are remembering where the nuts are, what their mother smells like, and they want things in their simple squirrel ways. They have emotions and they want to protect their children, and they get really frustrated if they cannot get into the bird feeder hanging from a tree. I see their tails swish. I hear them making angry sounds. They're having experiences too. Now, their experiences are simpler than ours because their brain is simpler than ours. Their brain is about an inch long, all right? And still, it's extraordinary that that amount of tissue can be the basis for the complex experiences of a squirrel compared to those of, let's say, a crab or a worm. So it makes it kind of more real. The whole body is making our experiences. The body is also embedded in life and culture with other people, yada, yada, yada. Okay, all that said, where the action is inside the coconut, right? And so just really fast, your brain right now, my brain right now has about 85 billion neurons, these little cells. They're all connected to each other, several thousand connections on average. Well, do the math, that gives us several hundred trillion little microprocessors sparkling away inside our head. And this neuroscientist, Charles Sherrington, called it an enchanted loom, continually weaving the tapestry of our experiences. Those cells are supported by another 100 billion or so glial cells. Neurons are firing 5 to 50 times a second routinely. Large coalitions of millions and millions, maybe billions of neurons are firing together synchronously, 5, 10, 20, 80 times a second. Whoa, a lot of action going on. And it's because of that incredible activity, which uses 20 to 25% of the oxygen in your blood and the glucose, the sugar, the fuel in your blood. The brain is just 2 to 3% of body weight, but because it's so important and it's so busy, you know, it uses a quarter roughly of the metabolic supplies in your blood. Whoa. So this is kind of a really extraordinary thing. And a kid's brain is really remarkable too. Like a baby chimpanzee's brain doubles in size in becoming an adult. A baby human's brain, a newborn human's brain, is a quarter of the size it'll eventually become as an adult. So with during, you know, infancy and the toddler years, it's a period of tremendous change, including unused connections withering away, this process called neural Darwinism, you know, the survival of the busiest would. So a bottom line, the brain is designed to be changed by our experiences, for better or worse. And because of its negativity bias, it's especially prone to being changed by negative experiences, including just ordinary stresses of raising a family. On the other hand, we have the opportunity, which is the superpower. We have the opportunity to help ourselves grow a little every day. We can help ordinary, genuine, down-to-earth experiences of a little more calming, a little more contentment, a little more sense of worth, a little more insight into how to work things out with our partner, a little more patience. We can develop these every day, and we have the power to change our brains for the better. And I'm really happy to talk with you about how to claim that power and use it skillfully every day for your own welfare, as well as all other beings.
Right. So much to unpack that, and we'll do that over the course of this masterclass, right? So one step at a time. But I think the first thing that pops out at me is that all this is like mind-boggling. I think you said trillion at some point, right?
Not several just 100 trillion little connections. Each one's like a little microprocessor.
Talking about billion with a B, we are talking about trillion with a TR, right? It's and I think the message of hope here is that it's not all set and done. It's a constantly evolving process, the one that we call neuroplasticity, right?
That's right.
You mentioned in passing that experiences are what make this happen. So let's dive into that a little. Talk to us a little about what neuroplasticity is and the role experiences play in this process.
Okay. So it may seem magical in a way, and we're surrounded by examples of, in the broad sense, learning, right? Our children, we observe them. They learn to walk. They learn to talk. They learn to talk back to us, you know. They're learning. We learn, hopefully, how to be skillful about that and not lose our cool too much, right? So we're learning. How does learning happen? Well, learning involves physical changes in the body because learning is lasting. There's a durable change. Well, if there's a durable change of mind, broadly, durable change of heart, you become more confident, become more loving, you become less resentful of other people, say. Whenever there's that kind of change of mind, there must be a change in the brain. And how that change happens is through many, many different mechanisms. Neurons that fire together, wire together. That's a very famous saying. New connections form. Existing connections get changed. They become stronger, weaker, more sensitive, less sensitive. Ebbs and flows of neurochemicals, tidal flows, pulses of serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, norepinephrine, washing through the brain. Changes in new sections of the brain, getting more coordinated with each other, or less coordinated with each other in a better way. Epigenetic changes, blood flowing to busy regions, changes of electrical activity. It's just amazing, actually. But here's the bottom line takeaway. I'll just kind of ask people, uh, when you are having a sweet moment with your kid, or maybe with your partner, let's say, you feel supported and understood with your partner. And it's an ordinary moment. On the 0 to 10 scale, it's not a 10, it's a 1 or a 2, which fill our lives. Ones and twos fill our days. Okay, when you're having that experience, what do you do then? Do you move on to the next thing within a second or 2 or 3? Or
Probably,
do you
right?
stay with it for a breath or 2 or 3 breaths in a row, 10, 20, 30 seconds in a row? Do you feel it? Do you kind of marinate in it? Do you help it come into you? Do you help it become you a little bit? No, to put it a little differently, do you help that passing state of feeling understood or supported or reassured or good about yourself or calm strength? Do you help that state leave traces behind physically to grow it as a trait? In other words, do you help states of patience become trait patience? Do you help states of compassion become trait compassion? Do you help experiences of wisdom become traits of wisdom? That's the key question. And if we just kind of roll through our day, there's a little bit of incidental growth, but it's surprising, isn't it, how often you'll have a good experience, you'll realize something, and the next day, you'll be,
Right.
as reactive as ever before. Don't do that, right? Like you think the day before you said to yourself, don't yell like that. It's okay. It's a small thing, or there's a better
Hmm.
way, but we got caught again. So yes, there's a little bit of incidental learning from our experiences, converting from state to trait, right? But if you're interested in the process of development, of becoming a little wiser at the end of the month than you were when you started, or the end of the year, right? A little happier, a little calmer, a little stronger, right? We want that. We want that for our kids. We want that for ourselves. If you really want that, if you want that growth, you want that improvement over time, you can help that grow by changing your relationship to the experiences you're having and slowing down and helping them land inside so you become more that way.
Hmm.
You carry it with you. You don't have to use your willpower so much. You become naturally more patient, naturally happier, naturally more loving. You can help yourself do that 5, 10 times a day, 10 seconds at a time, by just slowing down with the beneficial experiences to really, really help them sink in. I have a lot of detail about this on my website, as you know,
Mhm.
rickhanson.son.net, freely offered, tons of detail, tons of applications, including how to do it with kids or how to apply these methods for particular issues, right? But the essence is incredibly simple. Have it, enjoy it, have a beneficial experience, usually because it's already occurring, and then enjoy it. Help it hardwire its residues into your brain.
So you've developed a practice. So I like the way how you said that it's a state, and when you turn it into a trait, it becomes habitual, and we
Yeah,
don't have to exert so much willpower, right? So you've
yeah,
developed a practice for this.
yeah.
And in the second segment of this masterclass, we are going to dive into it and unpack the practice step by step.
Right.
But first, I want to explore one more thing that you mentioned earlier, which is the negative bias of the brain.
Yeah,
So one day we are able to patiently say, yeah, I should not yell, I should be calm. But then there is this bias of the brain that makes us worry, that makes us anxious, that makes us fearful, and because of that, the next day will probably end up being reactive, right? So
yeah,
let's unpack this negative bias of the brain,
yeah,
the Velcro and Teflon theory, as you talk about it. So I
yeah.
absolutely love it, and I want to bring it to our audience. Do you mind talking to about it a little
Oh,
bit?
it's one of the most useful ideas that's come out of really brain science. Um, so briefly, if you think about evolution, right? You think about our ancestors just 100 years ago. My dad was born on a ranch in North Dakota in 1918, very primitive conditions. He had to deal with some harsh situations. My mother had an alcoholic father who basically left the family when she was pretty young. She had tough things too. And then take it back 1,000 years. the stuff people had to deal with, or take it all the way back to, the Stone Age or Jurassic Park, right? During that 600 million year evolution of the brain, 600 million year evolution of the nervous system altogether, our ancestors needed to get carrots and avoid sticks. Carrots like food, sticks like predators, right? If you don't get a carrot today, you'll have a chance at one tomorrow. But if you fail to avoid that stick today, no more carrots forever. Sticks have more urgency and impact in terms of Mother Nature's primary mission, which is genes passing on genes, right? Live to see the sunrise. Eat lunch today. Don't be lunch today, right? So understandably, the animals who survived were a little more inclined to worry, to react, and to remember well any bad thing that happened if they survived it. So they would avoid it the next time. Thus the negativity bias. So we do these 5 things, and you can watch your mind doing it. You watch your kids doing it. Look for bad news out in the world, or in your body. What could go wrong next? What could go wrong next? Do they still like me? What's happening, right? Second, we overfocus upon it. If one negative thing happens amidst 10 good ones, that's what we focus on, because that's survival, right? You got to focus on it. Third, we overreact to it. If you put people in an MRI and you play like a nice sound, like a bell ringing, and then you play another sound that's just as loud, but it's negative, like a fire alarm or a child crying, the brain will go, reacts much more to the negative sound. So we overreact to it. People react more to loss than to gain. Somebody gives you $100. Oh, thank you. You realize someone has stolen $100 from you. What? Yeah. So we react to it. And then the whole package, fourth, is fast-tracked into memory. We remember negative information about others more than positive information. A negative interaction with our partner has more impact than positive interactions. That's why you need many more, 3, 5, 10 times as many positive interactions from their point of view for them to be really happy with you. Think about that, man. When I read that one in grad school, I was like, whoa, what has happened with my wife and me for the last couple of weeks? I was like, I need to raise my game. I need to increase the ratio of positive to negative. And same with our kids. Think about it. If, they have 5 interactions with a parent and 1 is pleasant, 2 are neutral, and 3 are negative, they're going to avoid the parent the next time. And, understandably. So bottom line. Oh, and also these painful experiences involve stress. If you're irritated or frustrated or lonely or sad or hurt or, anxious, that's going to release cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. Goes into your brain and it sensitizes the brain to upsetting experiences. It turbocharges the amygdala, the alarm bell of the brain, and cortisol weakens the hippocampus, which calms down the amygdala and also calms down another part of the brain, the hypothalamus, that calls for stress hormones. And so that creates a vicious cycle. Stress today makes us a little more reactive tomorrow, which makes us even more stressed tomorrow, which makes us even more sensitized the day after that. That's the negativity bias. So to me, I'll just bottom line it. I got a 3-point takeaway, okay? Number 1, deal with bad things. Obviously, I use the word bad pragmatically in a simple way. Recognize bad things and be honest about how you feel. I was laughing with another parent the other day. Children are annoying sometimes. It's okay
sometimes
to admit it.
You're being
Partners drive you crazy.
Sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of research shows that the greatest challenge for a couple typically is the arrival of children. These things are challenging. So recognize problems, feel your feelings, be real about it. That's number 1. Okay, for sure. Second, when you are getting stressed or upset, you're going into what I call the red zone. You're getting reactive, right? Your heart's pounding, you're irritated, or when you're in the red zone, feel it and move out of it as fast as you authentically can. Don't indulge negative rumination. Like, don't keep working that conversation in your mind over and over again. Don't keep fantasizing about how you're going to get them the next time. You know, don't keep beating yourself up, lambasting yourself. Oh, if I was any good, my husband would be nicer to me. You know, whatever. Don't do that. Come out of the red zone as fast as you can. Good ways to do it are to notice where you are actually safe, realistically safe, so you're not exaggerating threats. Also, healthy pleasures like wash your hands, you know, smell a flower, look at something beautiful, listen to some music, uh, you, you know, healthy pleasure. And third, feeling connected to others, getting in touch with warm-heartedness,
Mm.
love flowing in or love flowing out in any way, shape, or form. Those are three classic ways that are grounded in our biology to come out of the red zone. Help yourself feel safer or more satisfied, more rewarded, and also more connected. Okay. Third key, build up green zone experiences. Spend as much time as you can in authentic feelings of calm, contentment, and connection, right? As much as you can. And when you're having ordinary experiences like that, you're joking with the person who gives you coffee, or you got another mom at the school and you know some weird thing happens in the parking lot and you look at each other and go, wow. You know, but there's this so kind of like friendly camaraderie, like, whoa, that lady was nuts, or well, what did that teacher say? You know, or something. Or you know, you're joining together. Whatever. When you're having experiences like that, like I'm saying, slow down, turn on the inner recorder, marinate in the experience for 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 seconds in a row to help it hardwire into your brain or your body more in general. And any single time you have a green zone experience and you take it in, you dwell in it. So increasingly it dwells in you. Any single time you do that is minor. You know, one synapse here, you got several hundred trillion of them. One synapse there, but gradually, connection by connection, bit by bit, drop by drop, you're filling up the bucket inside yourself. So you feel more and more filled up from the inside out. So to me, those are the three. It kind of simplifies life. Deal with the tough stuff for sure. Move out of stressful episodes as fast as you can, authentically. Don't suppress them, but move out of them, including by witnessing them mindfully. As soon as you step back from the experience and observe it, including noting to yourself, oh, sad, oh, hurt, oh, angry, oh, resentful, oh, want to whack my partner, oh, you know, whatever is there. When you're back from it, you're watching the movie. You're not in the movie. And that alone is like a circuit breaker, and it stops or slows down the reinforcing of the negative material, just stepping back from it. Move out of the negative as fast as you can, and then really, really, really value the genuine positive. That's a good way to go through a day.
And that's such a message of hope, right? That our brain, this marvelous complex thing that has taken millions of years to develop this negativity bias to essentially protect us from something negative. That's the idea of evolution, right? That's how we evolve. That's how we
well-intended suffering. Thank you, Mother Nature. Thanks, Mom.
But the message of hope here is that we can actually hardwire positivity and happiness into our brain, right?
That's right. That's right. Right. So, it's not our fault, in effect. It's not our fault what we're experiencing in the moment, in a sense. It's the result of so many causes, but it is our responsibility in how we relate to it and what we do about it. So if something happens and it makes you feel really defeated and sad, or makes you feel really mistreated and angry, that's your experience. It's authentic. It's okay. Take a breath. And now what? What am I going to do with this experience? Am I going to let it just sweep me away? Or especially as the seconds tick by, maybe I am swept away for the first few minutes. Understandably, this thing happened and it really upset me. Or maybe the first few hours, I'm really swept away. But at some point, can I help myself come to a soft landing? And that's power we have inside ourselves. And it's incredibly hopeful, just like you say. that no one can defeat us in learning a little bit every day. I was thinking recently, Samita, if I could teach people just one thing. So here's a question for you and anyone listening. I have my answer. There's no right answer, but I know my answer. If you could teach your children, your friends, the people in this program, if you could teach everyone in the world one thing, what would that one thing be? For me, I would teach them how to learn. Because when you know how to learn, then you can learn anything else you want, including, especially not learning the multiplication tables. That's okay. But, or learning how to drive, that's useful. But learning how to be calm, learning how to be happy, learning how to be strong, learning how to feel that you deserve good treatment too. You know, that kind of learning, emotional learning, somatic learning, interpersonal learning, spiritual learning. That's the most, that's really important kind of learning. So what you and I are talking about is how we learn, how we grow, how we heal. And we have that power and we can use it every day. It's fantastic.
I love that, but especially in the beginning, you mentioned that human baby's brain is like 25%, and
Yeah.
as they grow adults, it kind of becomes bigger and bigger. But the thing is, even in a fully formed brain, the learning doesn't stop, right?
Correct.
That's a lifelong thing. And that's where you talk about the idea of self-directed neuroplasticity, where we learn to train that brain to keep learning, to keep growing, so we can choose to be happier, calmer, more content, right?
Exactly. And, the core of us, in a sense, our basic temperament is pretty stable, right? So, but there's tremendous amount of research that shows that people can become more traumatized, they can become more unhappy, they can become more anxious over time. That's a kind of learning. That's negative learning. On the other hand, much research shows if people want to, especially, they can become more mindful. They can become more self-compassionate. They can become more grateful. They can become more forgiving. They can become more resilient. They can become more skillful. Yeah, let's do that. Why not? Right?
So I want to dive into the practice that you have for doing that.
Yeah.
So we are going to wrap this segment up in a minute, but I have one last question for you. And this is, so in your book, you talk about the 3 different operating systems of the brain. So do you mind and you talk about how they address our 3 core needs. So do you mind kind of quickly giving us an overview of that? So in the next segment, when we dive into the practices, it's easier to kind of understand that?
Yes, definitely. And by the way, I want to acknowledge how well organized you are and how thoughtful
Thank you.
you are about this and helpful. So it's great. You're a very good teacher. So you help people learn. That's really good.
Thank you. I'm going to let that soak in.
That's right. Let us sink in. Let us sink in. It's okay. And by the way, that's one of the key details for a lot of people. And I'm going to generalize. Always a problem with that. That said, women, I would say, often generally will say that one of the things they have to overcome is this feeling that somehow they don't deserve it or they're not allowed to take in for themselves, that it's bad. Their job is to make others feel good and take in the good, but not themselves. It's almost like food. It's women tend to, and mothers especially, you eat, right? You
and
take it
all the
in. I'll make something good
leftovers.
for you. They'll make this amazing meal for their kids and family. And then in the back corner, they'll drink a Diet Coke and have like what? So anyway, it's to realize you deserve it. It's okay. And in fact, one of the great services to others is to fill yourself up, because then you have more for others and you're going to be more patient. You're going to be more skillful. You're going to make better decisions, when you feel better yourself. So really important to realize, yes, it's okay to take in for yourself. Okay, even you right now. Anyway, okay. So 3 needs, Robert. So if you think about what are we trying to grow inside? It's like muscles, right? They do different things. So we go, well, what would really help my kid who's worried at school if others like her? What would help her be happier and more effective at school? So we think, okay, what am I trying to help her learn and grow and develop? In much the same way, let's say, maybe given my relationship and there's this tension about stuff and we have issues here, and this thing happens inside me. Like, let's say he talks and I just feel kind of small and silent and I don't know what to say and I can't think. So what would help, right? Or, he's an okay guy, but my dad was a really bossy kind of jerk, and I keep bringing that feeling I had with my dad into my husband, let's say. And I know my husband's not perfect, but I know I'm bringing something in that's out of proportion to what's actually happening here. And I want to help that. I don't want to be so reactivated by my history when I'm dealing with my husband, whatever it is. Okay, so you think that what we want to grow is matched to a need. All right, so what do we need? It's a useful framework now. Like any animal, we have three basic needs. We need to be safe, we need to be satisfied, and we need to be connected broadly. Our children as well. And we manage that by avoiding harms for safety, approaching rewards for satisfaction, and we handle this by attaching to others for connection. And you could think of those as like three basic movements, push away or run away from harm, approach, pursue, reward, and attach, right, to those we care about. All right, so this gives us a fundamental model, and maybe I'll just leave you with something just before the break. So ask yourself, if you're watching this, are you dealing these days with feelings of anxiety, like you worry about things, or you're irritated, you're frustrated, you're exasperated, you're angry about things? Or are you dealing these days with feeling helpless, defeated, it's futile, right? Well, those three, fear, anger, immobilization, or helplessness, indicate challenges to safety. Resources for safety we'll talk about. So you might ask yourself, are the red lights blinking in the safety part of the inner dashboard? Or are you feeling frustrated, disappointed, or obstructed? You have goals and you're being blocked by them. Or is there a loss of things that were rewarding, like your previous role? Maybe you're a stay-at-home parent and you enjoy it, you love your kids, but you miss your colleagues at work. You miss the busyness, and you also miss, frankly, being able to go to the bathroom without a kid banging on the door. You miss that. Okay, there's a loss, right? Or maybe your life just feels kind of blah, really just gray. All right, those indicate issues with satisfaction. And those kind of issues are addressed by other sorts of resources, inner experiences, inner strengths. Okay. Last, to finish, are you feeling these days a fair amount of hurt, like you've been let down, like you expected more from other people, or they said they would do more and they're not, or they promise and they don't keep their promises? Do you feel inadequate in some ways? Do you feel ashamed? Do you feel less than others? You go to dinner with some people and you have nothing to say and you feel small? Or is there a leftover from your childhood of feeling less than other people? Do you resent other people? Or do you have fantasies of vengeance, running in your mind? Those indicate issues in connection, right? So, and it's okay if you have issues in all areas, and it's okay, by the way, depressed mood often is a combination of all three, especially if people have been mistreated by other people, then it really is all three especially. But that's a way to think about what you need and tell the truth about it, which then takes you to solution. There's a saying in medicine, to finish: diagnosis drives treatment. So the diagnosis is, what's the need that's unmet? And then how could I meet it and experience that it's met and take that in to myself?
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Rick. I was about to say Dr. Hanson, but Dr. Rick. So the reason I wanted to bring this is, in the next segment, we're going to dive into the HEAL practice. And while we talk about that, if you have in your mind which of these three needs, safety, satisfaction, connection, which of these three things that you might be struggling with, and if you hold that at the core, then as we go through it, if you try to link it with that, you'll probably get a lot more out of this masterclass, right? All right, so with that, we are going to wrap up this segment of the Hardwiring Happiness Masterclass. Our expert guide today is Dr. Rick Hanson, and this masterclass is inspired by the book Hardwiring Happiness, The New Brain Science of Contentment, Calm, and Confidence that Dr. Hanson has written. So in this segment, we focused mainly on the science behind this. In the next segment, we're going to change tracks a little bit and dive deeper into the practice of hardwiring happiness. So that's something you don't want to miss. Be sure to come back and join us.